I've always wanted to start my own school, a school where we could have passion and creativity in every classroom. And at first I thought I would do it in North Carolina. Then when I was teaching in New York, I thought the school would be in New York. But then when I was named as the American Teacher of the Year, I took a year off where I was traveling all across the country, going from state to state, learning about education in America. And my apartment in New York City was about $1,400 a month. And I was like, this is ridiculous. There must be someplace cheaper I can live for this year. And so I had friends who were moving to Atlanta. And I said, well, I'll go there. It's a nice city, and it'll be much less expensive. And I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people and the culture, and I realized there's a need in Atlanta for a school like this, just like there's a need really everywhere. And so I started looking around, trying to find a place. I said, if I do the school in Atlanta, where will I do it? And we looked all over Atlanta at all these different facilities, and we came upon the structure that I'm sitting in now, and it was an old factory, and there were streetwalkers around the building. There was drug activity, but there were kids everywhere. And the realtor, the real estate agent said, Ron, this isn't the place for a school. This isn't, what you're looking for. And I said, no, it's perfect. I said, it's exactly what we're looking for. I said, because not only are we going to affect the lives of all of the students that come in this building, we're also going to help revitalize and clean up this neighborhood. And so that's the heart of this school, not only working with our kids, but spreading our methods and lifting up everyone around us. This school is really different. Every teacher in this school is going to think out of the box. Every classroom will be full of creativity, and we really apply a hands-on approach so that everything these kids are learning, they're actually going to experience it hands-on. Within this school, we're going to have a bank where they'll learn fiscal responsibility. We're going to have a courthouse where they will practice judicial law. We're going to have a coffee shop the students will actually run themselves. We have a dance studio. We have a rap studio where the students will actually rap the lessons that they're learning to express themselves through music. And also, we do a lot where we teach these kids about the world, and then we take them out of this school and we travel with them so they can experience it. Sometimes we might just be traveling up the street. There's a bowling alley, right up the street here, and what we might do, we might teach these kids, for weeks about that bowling alley and we'll teach area and perimeter using the length of the lanes and so forth. We will use bowling pins to teach fractions. I'll go to the little cantina beforehand and I'll teach the kids about tax and so forth by using the price of the hot dog and the hamburgers. And then when we take the kids on the trip, they see math everywhere. It's all about making learning internal for these kids and making a connection. For the past 12 years, I've been traveling with kids, all over the country and all over the world, and we're going to do that with our students here at the Academy. Every year, everything we teach these kids will be integrated with trips around the world. By the time our students are in the 8th grade, they will have visited 6 of the 7 continents. When we take kids to South Africa, before we go, they've learned about economics, the history, apartheid, culture, religion. We read A Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. So when my kids actually get there, they actually internalize the experience. It's powerful. I mean, we work in orphanages, we dig trenches, we deliver school supplies, and I mean, sometimes, we just really have remarkable experiences. Like last time we went to South Africa, we ran into Nelson Mandela. And my students had tears in their eyes because they understood the magnitude of that man because they had been prepared before we went. So not only are we going to be giving them an amazing education every day in the classroom, we're also going to give them experiences around the world. And the whole philosophy behind that is if you really want a child to be successful, he needs to be a global citizen. And that's what we're trying to create. And if you want to have a leader who's going to be successful in business 15 to 20 years from now, he's got to have a global perspective. And that's what we're going to give these kids. And that's what makes our school different. This school is for 5th through 8th grade students because that's really where we're losing kids in America. I mean, if you go all around the country and if you ask a middle grade student, do you like school? 90% of the time, they're going to tell you no. And I've done a lot of work with 9th graders who are potential dropouts. And if you get a 9th grader who wants to drop out, odds are he's going to drop out. It's really hard to turn them around. But if you can take a 5th grader who is a potential dropout, I mean, you still have time to put passion in that classroom to give him a love of life, a love of learning. And if you really devote, 4 years to that child, lifting that child up, giving skills and organization, and just really getting that child to love learning, then you've made a difference. We're going to have all different types of people coming into this school to watch us teach and to learn about our programs. And the way it'll kind of work, people will come in and they'll sit in the back of the classroom and they'll watch me teach for an hour and a half. And then when the students leave, the teachers and other individuals will come and sit down and we'll talk about the lesson I just taught. And I'll share information and we'll debrief. And it's kind of like a workshop for teachers. So not only will we be teaching students here, we'll teach adults as well. And these adults will be teachers, professors, student teachers, community members, and other people from around the country and around the world who are interested in our methods. And people always ask, well, what's your role? What are you going to do at the school? And I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to teach every day. I teach 5th and 6th grade, and I'll teach from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock each day because that's my forte, that's my passion. I don't have a passion to be a principal or an administrator. And so Kim Bearden, the co-founder of the school, and I, we teach every day. And we'll have someone else who will be our director, and that person is in charge of community relations, finances, operations, paperwork. Kim and I are in charge of our students, but we're also in charge of all the teachers in the school and the curriculum. Kim is the expert on what is taught in our school. I'm the expert on how it's taught, and so we make a good team. Our students at the Academy will come from all over Atlanta and the surrounding areas. We wanted to take all of the kids from this neighborhood, but we can't do that because then we would deplete a lot of kids from the local elementary school, and that wouldn't be fair to them because they could lose teacher allocations. And so we will take some kids from the area of the school, but the majority of our kids will come from around Atlanta, so we'll have a shuttle system where we bring kids to our facility. This school opens officially with students in September of 2007, but this is just the first school. Every school that we make from here on out, when we branch off, we envision as charter schools. But we needed to be private for this first one so that we could develop our programs, show success, and then put it into a model that we can then replicate as charter schools across the country. The inspiration for my 55 rules came out of necessity. Just when I first got in the classroom that first day, I told those students, I said, y'all need some home training. That's what we call it in North Carolina. Home training is manners. And I said, y'all need some manners. I said, my parents raised me to have appreciation for others, respect, kindness, generosity, compassion. I said, what are parents teaching these days? And so I just came up with a list of 5 simple rules, things I wanted to teach my students, and they were born out of necessity. I saw something my students needed, so I tried to fill that need. And we practice these rules, things like how to give a firm handshake, how to eat with proper etiquette, how to talk to an adult. And we would go through these rules, and what I noticed was that after our role-played situations and we practiced over and over, these kids really started to get the hang of it. So the next year my list grew to 8 rules. The next year it got better, it grew to 12, then 18, then 22, then 28. Then I moved to Harlem to teach, and it grew to 55. So I had 55 rules for these kids. But what I found is that the more specific you can be with a child or student or with anyone. The more specific you are with anyone about your expectations, the better the results are going to be. And so I found that once I was very clear with those kids about what I expected, then the results were outstanding, their test scores were through the roof, and it made the year much easier. And some people say to me, I don't have time to teach 55 rules to these students. And I say, well, I took a little bit of time that first week of school to really teach these 55 rules, then I reinforced it, and then by November, I could take those kids to the moon because they were at a point where they were ready to learn and they knew what was expected. And what's been amazing about this whole thing is that now the Essential 55 are in schools all across America and all around the world, and I get all these emails and phone calls and messages and letters from teachers who say, I've been teaching 30 years. This is the first year I've used these rules, and I wish I had this 30 years ago. I would have been a different teacher. And so it's wonderful to see that even a veteran teacher, when he or she attempts to use these rules, they see, oh, this program really works. Doing these things and showing what I expect and really bringing manners and building a family in this classroom, it really changes things. And so it's great to see that not only can a new teacher be excited by the rules, but veteran teachers as well. I used the royalties from my book, The Essential 55, to purchase the facility and to start the renovation phase. And so now we're left with the problem of how do we pay for our students to come to this school, to travel around the world with these kids, to give them this amazing education, to pay for our teachers and the whole facility, to buy the kids uniforms and luggage. It costs $14,000 a year per student. And so we said, all of our kids come from low wealth areas. How are we going to find this funding? And so we ask individuals, businesses, corporations, foundations, we write grants to get funding so that these students will have the opportunity to come to our school. And a lot of people say, I can't do $14,000. And so we say, could you go to the website? It's www.ronclarkacademy.com. The heart of our support just comes from individuals, people who say, I'd like to sponsor a kid for a year. Or you know what, I can't pay $14,000 to do a kid's scholarship, but I can get you a kid's uniform, or I can get you, a kid's math textbook for a year. And so all these people who do whatever they can as individuals, they come on board, they go to our website, they contact us, they go to our donations page, and they pick whatever level they feel comfortable giving. That, amazingly enough, is where we accumulate the most of the funding for our students, just from individuals who care and want to support the school. When you sponsor a kid, you're not only providing a scholarship for that kid, you're funding the whole program. And what's really beautiful about this school is that we're going to be a model school. We're going to have teachers from all over the country and all over the world come into our school every day to sit in the back of our classrooms, to watch how we teach, to learn about our creative methods, and to take these methods back to their own schools. We're going to really make a global change in education.